What's up, guys, and welcome in. We are working on episode 8 of the podcast today. Waiting on Sam to join us.
So we've had some suggestions from our fans on topics they want to hear about.
Yeah.
So you ready?
We've had a few suggestions. Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. So why'd you become a nurse?
Why did I become a nurse?
Yep.
You know, I don't want to give the generic answer of I've always wanted to be a nurse, but honestly, I have always wanted to be a nurse.
Yeah.
My grandma was really sick for a while with me growing up, and I stayed with her throughout the summers, and after school I would go to her house, and most of the time my grandmother was a nurse, so she would teach me like different ways to take care of her. So I would give her insulin shots, get her pills together in the mornings for her, and she worked at a nursing home for a while. So during the summer when my mama would go to work, my grandma would actually take me to work with her at the nursing home. So it's just been instilled in me since I was a little kid. She would call me her little nurse, so that stuck with me.
That's pretty cool.
Yep. What about you?
So I didn't really know what I wanted to be when I graduated high school, but so my mom carried me to the college to kind of sign up for classes, and she carried me to a technical college. So I went, and I really wanted to be in like interior design or law enforcement. I was like, I want to do that. But the lady was like, well, they don't really make a lot of money. So, but your grades, you can get into the LPN program. So I was like, okay, sure. Sign me up. And so my mom's like, well, you might as well just go over there to the college, the university, down the road and do that. And I was like, nah, I probably won't like it. I'm just going to do the LPN program. It takes like a year and a half. I can be done. And so that's why I became a nurse pretty much. There was no warm and fuzzy reason. It was just for job security, pretty much.
That's smart though. I think a lot more people should start thinking that way. Don't get me wrong. I do feel like nursing is a calling. So I feel like when you went to that college, it was probably a reason that you were led to, the nursing career instead. 'Cause you do a great job at it. I'll give you that.
Well, and it's not that I don't care about people. I mean, I do, but like I save my empathy for people who need it and deserve it. I don't give it to everybody.
100%. It is exhaustive. Like if we sat here and actually like used our empathy on every single patient or person that we came across,
Yeah.
you imagine how drained you would be.
I'm drained already. So yeah, I can't imagine.
I know. Shit, we ain't even in our 40s.
So another question that they had was, what do you remember like your first death as a nurse, like your first patient that passed away on your shift?
Yes, I do. So I just got off orientation. I think I was like a week off of orientation wait, are we talking about my first like death on orientation or my first death like when I got off on my own?
Your first death, like first out of nursing, or like first in nursing school, like the first time you experienced somebody passing away, I guess.
Let me see. Honestly, the one that made quite an impression on me, let me just put it that way, because I feel like I saw a lot of death during nursing school just because they took us to different floors and stuff. So we did like home health clinicals. We went to hospice. So I've seen many people die before I even got my nursing license. But like the one that left a lasting impression on me was there was an incident where I was on orientation. These people pulled up, threw this guy out of the car. It was a GSW, and he was very young, and that was probably the first death that kind of left an impression on me.
Yeah, so being in nursing school right out of high school, I became a nurse. I had my LPN license and had my first job when I was 19. And so I didn't really have like a lot of life experience with death. Like I hadn't lost my grandparents yet, nothing like that. And so I
Yeah,
was working at a nursing home, and this little old lady that was like in the like memory support unit and stuff. Anyway, she actually ended up choking um on some food and stuff, and we were able to kind of clear her airway back. But I guess that anyway, it kind of messed her up, and so DNR, which I mean, I think the family was very brave and right for doing. So anyway, we just allowed the lady to, pass on her own. But I do feel like it kind of stuck with me just because, I mean, again, I'm 19 years old. Just watched this lady pass away. And so, yeah, I feel like that one I always will remember for sure.
yeah, I can see that, especially being
Um,
that young, like straight into nursing school, and like you said, not having that experience with that side of death. I know you see death all the time
yeah,
on the farm with the animals and
yeah,
stuff,
for
but
sure.
you know,
It's definitely different. It is different when it's a human. And like I knew like there was nothing else I could have done differently. I knew we had done all we could for her,
yeah,
and like I said, her family was there, so I definitely felt like it was a peaceful moment at the end. But, when you go into nursing school and you kinda are learning everything. They kind of teach you how to save people and what to do to for that. But it's just not one of those instances all the time that you can. You can't save everybody, nor should you try. There are some times where you
yeah.
should just sit back and allow natural things to happen because that's the right thing to do. And that's definitely
All right.
what happened in this instance.
Yeah, I know. I'm not. I understand from like a family side of things how you want to do everything you can to save your loved one, but in the grand scheme of things, I really think
Yeah,
people should consider what their family member would actually want. For one,
yeah,
if it's walking on that line of being selfish. Number two,
yeah,
and then number three, like what's if that person is incapable of making decisions at this point, what is in the best interest of them? Like,
yeah,
are you going to do more harm by doing all these things, or would it be just
right,
best to just let them go in peace? And I think a lot of
yeah,
people don't consider those things when they are making those decisions.
right. They don't. And I think that um, people are, I guess, ignorant to the fact of what CPR actually is
Yeah,
and the success rate of somebody coming back normal after CPR. I think
yeah,
people just don't understand that.
I agree. Which there's a lot of
Um,
ignorance with healthcare as well. Like for
yeah, there
instance,
is.
like my mom, she'll go to the doctor and I'll say, "What they say?" I don't know. What do you mean you don't
Yeah,
know? You just went and sat at the
yeah,
doctor's office, Janice. Like I just feel like there's a lot of ignorance in healthcare, and people aren't educated on themselves for one, and a lot of times they go to the doctor and they just listen to everything that the doctor says. They don't research and they don't, you know.
ask questions
Yeah,
for sure. I definitely think that's a big issue with healthcare. For sure. Then, so the next thing that they asked us to talk about was what is the craziest thing you've ever seen?
I'm gonna let you take this one first. I gotta think on it.
Um, the craziest thing I've ever seen. Okay, so I don't know if it's the craziest or like the cringiest maybe I've ever seen. It's somebody with an internal decapitation.
Girl, how
Um,
did you know I was
so
thinking that? You're reading my fucking mind.
I'm just saying it's very bizarre when you see it in person.
It
Um,
is.
it's like definitely the like, I don't know really how to explain it, but it's like their head and everything's still attached. There's nothing that looks abnormal on the outside, but if you move them, their head just like falls.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
and to me,
Yeah. It
that's
makes a
probably
lot
the
of sense.
craziest thing, is because looking at them, you would think they would be alive and they would be fine and there would be nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with them, but there is, like, this is cut in here so that, I mean, and so their head just flops over. It's kind of like a newborn baby's head, just kind of flop.
Literally, that's literally how it is. I'll never forget my first encounter with that. Um, we were doing postmortem care, and of course, we knew like this was like a high speed accident. Like this person passed away on impact, but of course they still worked it, just
Yeah,
to see if we can get any sign of life back. Anyways, we pronounced them and go in there to do postmortem care. Like there's blood coming from the guy's ears, all these things. At that point, none of us knew like he was internally because we didn't get like any scans. We were working like doing a code, like doing CPR and all that stuff. So we go in there to do postmortem care and we try to adjust his head, make him presentable for his family. And it's almost, how like an owl can turn their head like all the way around? That's
yeah,
literally what it reminds me of.
right. Yeah, that's really actually the craziest thing to me, because, like I said, there was really no obvious signs that that patient shouldn't be okay. But then, like I said, you move them over or something, their head just kind of um
Yeah.
falls back, or whatever, and that's how you can kind of tell. So it's definitely the most bizarre thing. Um, that's probably the craziest thing. I mean, of course, like, as far as crazy, people stick stuff in their butt all the time, and I know that that's like crazy, but I mean, that's crazy to me. Like, I would personally do
Yeah.
that, but I mean, I don't judge people who do whatever. Just be honest with me at triage so I can get you things faster.
Exactly. Yeah, y'all have already heard my stories about the squeaky dog toys and all the
Yeah,
curling irons, bottles, all the things. So yeah, that's probably the
yeah,
craziest thing to me because in my mind, I'm thinking like I understand people have their kinks and people have their fetishes and all this stuff, but why not use an actual sex toy? Why do you want to use all these other objects?
yeah. And I don't care if you do, but like, don't waste my time at triage talking about you constantly. Like, just tell me you got something in your butthole so we can move on. Like,
You know how embarrassing that has to be though to walk up and say, "Hey, ma'am, I know I checked in with constipation, but there's really something stuck in my butt."
but I need to know that ahead of time, because I mean, if you're constipated, then you may think something else is in your butt too, but it ain't poop, it's an object. Just let me know. I'm not judging nobody. Just
I
tell
agree
me
with that.
what's in there and move on.
I agree.
Because
I
honestly,
agree.
you don't want to go in there and try to get an
I agree.
MRI and you done got a metal thing up your ass. Like, and we don't know. Just tell me what's in there.
You're right. You're right. Because then you're gonna be in a whole lot more trouble.
Yeah, it's gonna come out real quick. Not the way you want it to.
Crazy.
All right.
That's
And
funny.
another thing they want us to talk about was, what's the worst day you've had in the ER or as a nurse? The worst day.
Oh man, I've got so many days that I could say are my worst day. I'm gonna give you my top two.
Okay.
So, um, one of the worst days I've had was like a pediatric death. Kid was autistic, I believe. I can't remember it. Mentally delayed. I don't really know the true diagnosis of this kid. Dog ran out in the road. Kid ran after it. Got hit by a car. That was like one of
Yeah.
my first pediatric codes, and that one stuck with me for a very very long time. So that was one of the worst days I had, because I had never had, like, I had experience at that time with adult deaths, but I hadn't
Yeah.
had much experience with pediatric deaths that were like my patients. Like, I had helped other people with their pediatric codes and stuff like that, but I had never had one that was actually my patient. So that was probably number one. Number two was I had this trauma where it was like an 18-wheeler accident. Guy had open fractures. Every limb was an open fracture. And what that means for
Uh,
people who aren't in the medical field is basically like your bone sticking through your skin. Like, you've broken a bone and now it's going through your skin. And that was on every limb. Um, Guy was, of course, unresponsive. CPR was in progress, all these things. So it took forever. Like, we got him back, but it took forever to get him stable enough to transfer him. Fast forward, get him out. I get a stroke patient who we end up giving at this time we were giving TPA. It wasn't TNK. Gave TPA to her. She ended up intubated, which means she had a breathing tube down her throat. Um, she gets transferred, and as soon as EMS leaves, like, she loses her pulse. So she has to come right back to me. And all of this
yeah.
happened in the exact same day, like less than an hour within each other. So that was honestly probably the worst day. One of the
Yeah.
worst days in my nursing career.
Um. Yeah. I definitely feel like I couldn't narrow it down to just one day. Um.
Yeah.
I feel like I've had, to me, when people who I know or who somebody in the ER knows dies, that's always hard. Um. I
Yeah.
had, so one of our co-workers, family came in and it just didn't look good. And so, trying to deal with that, and advocating for him and telling the doctor, what I think it is, and then it not being, I guess, followed up on and stuff. I guess it's always bad to me because it ended up being a bad outcome
Yeah.
for that. And then um, there's somebody I knew, like from the hometown. I was taking care of them. They were in septic shock, and I was like huge pregnant at the time, so pregnant. And so I mean, of course, when they're septic shock, you have to give them fluid because blood pressure's in the toilet. Um, and you don't want to start
Yeah.
pressures until you got them, hydrated back. So they're hydrating them back.
Yeah.
And of course, we lost the pulse. And so start CPR, get them back, and all these things. And like I said, I just hate that. Um, that was the outcome of that family. And knowing that was rough. And then
Yeah.
as far as pediatric codes are always bad, always very bad. Because chances are, if a kid has coded, it's a bad circumstance. And they've been
Yeah.
compensating for a long time, a while. Because, kids are resilient. And their little bodies of try to fight it off as long as they can, and then they just can't, and it quits, and then it's very, very hard to get them back.
And for the listeners who didn't know what you meant by that, was essentially, like, if it's not like a trauma that caused it, that pediatric patient to code, this is what she means,
Yeah.
like a medical thing that caused them to code. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the last kid, well, I guess close to the last kid I worked was from sepsis. They were sick, and the parents just didn't bring them in time. Essentially, is what it amounted to. Because there was absolutely nothing we could do because the kids don't really have reserve. I feel like it's the kid's body put everything into it, and there's not like a lot of reserve like adults and how your body's grown accustomed to compensating. Like kids don't have that.
I asked
Yeah.
if you gave your kid Tylenol or Motrin. No, I wanted y'all to see how high their temperature was. Like, don't do that. Do not do that. It's so dangerous. Please, please, please medicate these kids. And if you don't know, there are helplines, like hospital helplines, that you can call. There's your pediatricians if you don't know how much to give your kid. Like, there's so many different ways to figure these things out. Don't wait until it gets to like a level where it's very hard for us to get it back down.
Yeah, well, and then the thing is, like, it's not even a fever. Like, it's fluid intake, and the fluid intake is what
Yeah, that
I
too.
feel like happens a lot with kids. Is you don't um. So, for instance, my child, my youngest child, didn't. She hadn't peed in about 24 hours, and I had been getting like a little bit in her here and there, but she would just throw it up. And I tried
Yeah.
all the medications, and she wasn't even really running a fever. Um, But I was concerned for kidney damage at that point, so I ended up taking her to the hospital. We got admitted, and she ended up having it was like a virus. But she had 2 liters of fluid before she ever peed. Um, if they're vomiting and they're not keeping nothing down, no matter what, like I said, I tried all sorts of kind of stuff, and it just wasn't working. And so, of course, I'm like freaking out at this point, which I think when I finally took her, it had been 12 hours since she had peed last. I went and took her to the ER, and then it ended up being a total of 24 before she finally peed. But she took 2 liters of fluid, and I mean, that's dangerous, you know.
Yeah.
But I tried everything at home that I could possibly think of. But again, like when your kids start laying around and they're not really that active and they're not drinking, I mean, kids when they're sick, they
Yeah.
won't eat a lot of times. So if they're not drinking, that's a problem. But
Yeah.
that was one of the worst deaths. But as far as like busyness, COVID season was the worst days of my entire life as a nurse.
I swear to you. I don't think there's a nurse out there that did not work COVID that would not agree with you.
um, the worst shift I had, it was me and an LPN that split our acute side, which is what, um, 12 rooms? I think it was 12 rooms. Yeah.
Yeah.
Her and I split
Yeah.
12
'Cause
rooms.
it's 20.
There was another RN that was on the other side, and then an RN that was charging. That is the worst shift of my entire life. And if I ever had to do that again, I would have quit because I could not give my patients the proper care. You know, so LPNs and their scope in the hospital can only do so much. I mean, you can't hang drips and titrate and things like that. So anybody that started
Yeah.
crashing, I had to run and go see. And at that time, everybody was sick. Everybody was sick from either COVID or
Yeah. It was
we had a
terrible.
couple of DKAs and some people that was in SVT, and of course LPNs can't do nothing with that. And so that was
Yeah.
the worst shift. And so now when people are complaining that they have to split 12 rooms with 2 RNs and an LPN, I just kind of look
The
at them
acute side.
because any of it, when they have to
Yeah.
go up to
They have
six
no freaking
patients
clue.
with the LPN and a tech, I ain't got no fucking sympathy, man, because 12 rooms with just the LPN and not a single fucking tech, no, I don't have no sympathy for that shit. Go to work.
Yeah.
I'm just like, it's hard
I never
sometimes.
like.
I know
Yeah.
it is, but that was the worst day of my life. And how we made it out, I have no idea, but that was so bad. That was a bad, bad day.
Girl, I agree. It was
Yeah.
terrible, man. That was a terrible time. Like people were getting intubated left and right. You got the acute side split between 2 nurses, and let's not forget the triage area. The triage area consisted of 1 RN, and that was
Yep.
also the treatment area. So the triage nurse ran pit 1 and pit 2 by themselves. Like, so when people get up there and start saying this one needs a room or this one needs a room, and there's 3 or 4 like LPNs and a tech floating around, and you got 2 RNs, like I get it. People do need rooms. We're a little backed up, but y'all can throw them in a chair, get them started, or find a little treatment area to get them started. Like it's not impossible. We did it.
Well, even when I go back to that time, like when we only had one LPN for all them patients, and how just
Oh yeah,
you know how much teamwork we had going, and how we took care of people, we moved people, and now we have
we
so
did.
much more
Like the
staff.
sorry, I was just saying
Yeah,
the
we
triage
have.
nurse would triage them. We'd go ahead and line them if we could, swab them, throw
Yeah,
them in a chair, LPN, go ahead and medicate them. Like, and sometimes if I had time, I would go ahead and medicate them for them too. Send them to the bathroom.
yeah. But like now, to me, there. I mean, we got all the staff just, and it's. I love having that staff, but I think it spoils a lot of people too because they don't really. They feel like they don't have to work now.
No, I agree, and I think that's part of my disgruntlement about like having a lot of staff. Like I know how hard we had to work, and I
Yeah.
appreciate having the staff on hand, but I
Yeah.
also have higher expectations
Right.
because of what I worked through. So a lot of people think I'm being a bitch or I'm being I'm probably gonna get canceled for this, a slave driver when
Yeah.
I ride them for not doing what they're supposed to, or when I'm pushing them to like, let's move this patient, let's split these patients, guys, you know.
Yeah.
But it's just a matter of fact, like we have staff. There's no reason for us to not be getting things done in a timely or efficient manner when there was just
Right.
two of us like a few years ago knocking this shit out.
Yeah. I know. No. I mean, I'm the same way. Like, a while back when I had to charge on night shift, and they just move so much slower. There's no urgency on the night shift, and I'm not saying everybody's like that, but the night I was working, it was, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
why the fuck are you sitting at the goddamn desk? There's red on the board. Get your ass up. Like, man, it just irritates me. You sitting over here eating fucking Fritos and shit, and I'm just like, dude, like we get killed over here. Get your ass up. You can snack later.
Exactly.
Man, that
And that's what
irritates
I was
me.
trained to. I also think it goes into the training of people. Aside
Yeah,
from
for
that,
sure.
nursing school has failed a lot of our new grads. I'm just gonna go ahead and put that out there. It's failed them.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but
yeah,
um, it also goes into the training of new staff as well. Like if you learn to do it this way, of course you're gonna do it this way.
yeah. Sometimes it's that, but a lot of times they were trained properly, and I know they were trained properly because
Oh
they
yeah,
have some of the best people training them. They just fucking lazy, and that's
right.
the shit I can't stand. You don't need to be in the ER if you're lazy. Go on, go work somewhere else.
Yep, I agree. And I try to
Mm.
give some people the benefit of the doubt. I'm like, okay, they're new. Number one, I always have to take that into account. Experience.
Yeah,
That's the first thing I take into account. But I've seen some of the people with no experience run circles around a lot of experienced people just
yeah,
because of the fact that the experienced people are fucking lazy.
yeah. I know. And then it's like they want to be ER nurses just because it is like. I mean, to me, it is the elite thing of nursing. Like when you can do a little bit of everything. Um, it
Yeah.
is, but you can't have
I
that
get
title if
cocky
you
with it.
sit
I'm
on your
like, God
ass.
damn, I'm a little bit of a badass.
Like to me, you can't say, "Oh, I'm an ER nurse," and then sit in your fucking corner and not do a goddamn thing all fucking day. Like, get your
Exactly.
ass up and work, man. Come on, like. You got red on the board, or if all your patients are settled, and then you're just gonna sit there and play on your phone and not go help your team members. That's the worst kind of nurse to me, right there, boy. Get up and go help. Um,
And that's the
like,
type of nurse that I do not want to help. I don't want patients neglected at the end of the day, but in the grand scheme of things, you have to show me a little bit of effort. You have to show me that you want to be here and that you want to help the team before I
yeah,
throw all my energy into you. Because I'm
yeah,
not about to exhaust myself because you're
yeah,
not pulling your weight. And I get it. It is a push pull thing. We're a team. So some days you might be 50%. Okay, I understand that. But it shouldn't be that every single day.
no, not every time you clock in,
Yeah.
it shouldn't be. Um, so another question was like when you're out like in public and say you have on an ER T-shirt or somebody knows you and they say like, "Hey, I bet you see some crazy things." Like what? I guess what's your response to that, or like how does that make you feel?
Um, honestly, I hate that question.
No.
And the way I usually answer it is you have no idea. Because
Yeah.
to me, I know in their brains the craziest things are like the kind of funny things, like the person
Yeah,
came in because they stuck something up their butt, like we were talking about, or the I don't know, just the fish hook in the hand, stuff like that is what
yeah,
people imagine as like the craziest things that we see, but they literally have no idea. So for me, that puts me in a mindset to start thinking about like, damn, I've actually seen some crazy shit. I want to think about this
yeah,
outside of work.
yeah. So
So I kind of blow
think,
it off.
yeah. Well, I think one time I was asked that I had been after like I just worked like a lot, and they were like, "Oh, I bet you see some crazy things in the ER and different things." And I feel like initially I was kind of, I know I looked at them crazy because I'm just like, I mean, yeah, I mean we see a lot of death, and I think it had been around the time that we had for a while there. It seemed like we had a string of pediatric deaths,
Yeah.
and like it was coming, it was very common, and it was nothing to work a shift and have one. So I feel like it was after one of them shifts, and the girl sitting there talking about it, and oh yeah, all this stuff, and I'm just like, yeah, it's crazy, all right. Like I don't even know how to respond to people like that because until you've been there and done it, you have no idea. You just have
You have
no
no
idea.
clue. And I get it, like, and I'm not knocking any other floor. I'm not knocking like the deaths that a lot of people have to witness and stuff like that. But in all honesty, I feel like we as an ER see the most death. Us in
Yeah,
the ICU, maybe, I don't know, but
yeah,
we do. And I feel like a lot of like America doesn't take into account like the trauma and the mental like exhaustion that does to a person.
yeah.
So like I said,
Well,
we all got to be a little crazy to work in the ER, but
yeah.
it also gives you mental health issues if you think about it.
Well, yeah. Well, I feel like I've had the mental health issues. I just add to it, but I will say that
See?
a lot of times, the most response I got. So, last year I was wearing a ER T-shirt out. Well, Josh and I and the kids were on vacation, and so I was wearing that shirt out, and had somebody come up and say, "Hey, you work in the ER?" And they were a flight nurse, I think, and so, or no, they're a paramedic or
Mhm.
something like that. And so, he was like, thanks for your service, and I appreciate all y'all do. I know it's hard in the hospitals, and and so things like that. So I never mind anything like that, especially when somebody has kind of been there and done that too, because them paramedics see a lot, probably a lot worse than we do.
Yeah.
But so
Oh, absolutely.
that I don't mind. But when somebody hasn't worked in there, I feel like coming up and saying, "Hey, what's some of the craziest things you've seen?" Is probably not a good idea.
Yeah.
Um, and I do try to play it off as a joke sometimes. I'll just be like, "Oh, you'll be surprised what people stick in their butt, ha ha," But that
Yeah.
doesn't
I,
mean that
I
my
do the same
mind
thing.
doesn't. Yeah, that my mind doesn't flash back. That kid laying there. So,
Right.
I
Right.
definitely think it's just, and I don't want to think about that stuff when I'm not at work. Like I don't think
Yeah.
about it.
Me either. Me either.
So,
And and I understand like especially when I did like travel nursing, like going to different areas, a lot of the other like the fellow nurses would ask like what kind of traumas did you like in your hometown town? Like we would
yeah,
compare horror stories basically, trying to see like what the general census was for like ERs. Like, is this more common in
yeah,
your town or is this more common there? We would exchange stories, and I don't mind stuff like that either.
yeah,
But just I don't know.
yeah. I can see those things, but like I said, just somebody walking in off the street talking about, "Hey, I bet y'all see crazy things. Or what's the craziest thing you've seen?" And honestly, I've gotten where I don't even really go out in the town, especially with a t-shirt on, because it's just,
With an ER t-shirt on? Yeah.
yeah,
No.
I'm not the hospital in general. Because, I mean, then they don't really know. They don't really say a lot. But if you ever have that ER shirt on, I feel like here comes everybody wanting to hear some stories and just saying
Yep.
about it.
I don't know. Sometimes people don't come up to me though, and it's mainly like family members and stuff for me, or like extended family that'll ask me, "Ooh, what'd you see at the ER today?" Nothing. Nothing really. It
Yeah.
was busy. That's the generic answer I give everybody. Or my mom will say, "How was your day?" And I would say, "Long, busy."
Yeah.
Because
That's what I say to my
I mean,
mom.
I could sit there and explain that to her, like go through every step of my day, and she, at the end of the conversation, she still wouldn't understand.
Yeah. Well, I feel like my mom understands some because, like, she wasn't a state patrol, but she worked with them, so she had to go to wrecks with 18-wheelers.
Yeah,
So I feel like she saw a lot of fatalities. So I feel like she
yeah,
definitely understands some stuff with it, but I don't know. Like, she doesn't really ever ask me. She'll just say, "Hey, how's it going? Did you have a good day?" or something like that. But she don't really say much about it.
yeah, yeah.
So,
I really do
that's
think it
different.
helps having like a friend or friends that also, experience the same things.
Mhm. Yeah,
Because
it
there's
does.
certain things like you can't. I mean, you could go home and like you, for instance, you can go home and like talk to Josh about it and say this, and this happened today. Like he's gonna sympathize or empathize with you on it,
Yeah.
but like deep down, he doesn't know that feeling. So
No, he don't. Yeah, he
I
doesn't.
feel like
He
it
doesn't
does
fully
help.
understand, but he is supportive.
Of course, it does help to have that support.
He does.
But I feel like, it definitely helps to have like one or two people that you can talk to like after a shift and just say, "Oh my God, it was fucking crazy. I can't believe
Yeah.
this, and this."
Yeah. Well, my thing too though is like, I know we named our thing the RN group chat because I feel like there are a lot of group chats that go on um in this world because of just because of how stressful it is, and you got to rely on them friends for sure.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. I agree with that. And for those of y'all that were wondering, that's where we got our name from. We were sitting there trying to figure out what could we name our podcast, and I can't even remember. We came up with the ride home,
Yeah.
the group chat, the real. All right, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Here we go, back in the
There were so
HR.
many names we came up with. But essentially, we were thinking like, man, there are so many group chats out there where people just, there's not even like close friends, just people just text each other just to decompress
Yeah.
after a work day. So we should call this the RN group chat.
Yeah. We talk about random shit that we would there anyway.
Yep, exactly. I'm glad we did come up with this name. I love this name for us.
Me too.
It's very fitting.
So, you want to leave, since we're talking about nursing, do you want to leave the new nurses with, like a little piece of advice as a closing?
Mm.
Okay, go ahead.
You go ahead. I'm still thinking.
Um,
Don't do this shit. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
my advice to new nurses is you are taking care of a living, breathing human being. It's not a test. It is a life, and you need to remember that. That's what I got.
That's good advice. My advice is do not just jump into this career because you think, or ER nursing, let me put it this way. Don't jump into ER nursing just because you think it's cool or just because you want to have the title, or just to say, you know, I'm a badass. Like, actually figure out what fits you best. Because there are a lot of people that I feel like jumped into ER nursing thinking like, man, I want to do that. Look at how cool it looks. When they were better
Right.
fit for ICU or better fit for med surg or psychiatric. There's so many different avenues you can take as a nurse. So I
Right.
highly suggest researching, shadow shifting, all those things before you just decide on sticking to one thing, you know?
Yep.
Because initially,
I
like for
agree.
me, for instance, initially I thought I wanted to be a neonatal nurse. I thought I wanted to work with babies. And
Mm.
like I was in love with babies. And then I get to doing my ER clinical and I'm like, oh my God, like something just clicked.
Yeah. Yep. I love the ER. All
Yep.
the craziness with
I
it.
know. I couldn't see myself doing anything else. If I
Mm-mm.
absolutely had to do something else, I would probably go to the ICU, but I would be bored out of my mind.
Ooh, I can't do it. I got floated up there for a couple hours one day. I was like, if y'all don't get me out of here, I'm gonna be a psych patient because I'm gonna slit my fucking wrist. This is terrible.
Hey, didn't you learn
I was
the
like,
first time about saying stuff like that? You're going to end up over there at community.
yeah, but I was like, what the hell do y'all do all goddamn day? Shit is boring as.
No, I was sitting there. I was like, they were like, I was like, can I help you with anything? No, we got it. Well, why the fuck am I here? Hey,
Fuck.
I sat there and worked on my little education for the hospital for the 4 hours that I was up there. I was so mad. I could have been down in the
Well,
ER running around. This could have went by so much faster.
yeah, so I even had a patient load, and then they were like discharging and transferring, and so in the ER, you got 25 minutes to get them out. I had them jokers out, and I had no patients. I was like, what am I supposed to do now? And so yeah, everybody was gone. I mean, transported out. I rolled them jokers to that room so fast, and I was like, okay, well I'm good. And housekeeping comes and cleans their room. We ain't even got to clean the room, so I'm just sitting there like, what am I supposed to do now? I was so bored. I was like, dude.
Twiddling them thumbs. Did you pick out a new audiobook to listen to?
They finally let me go home because I think I got on their nerves. They're like, you just go home. We're fine. Because I cannot sit still. I'll be asleep if I sit still like that.
Listen,
So,
that one time I got floated to med surg and I like they couldn't figure out how to put me in the Pyxis. They couldn't figure out like a lot of things. So I couldn't help give meds. I didn't have a patient load. I kept calling the ER secretary. I was like, hey, how busy is it down there? Like y'all need me back. Ask the charge nurse if they need me back.
I'm like, well, I've been floated to med surg floors and stuff like that, and I'll go in and do their assessments, like listen with the stethoscope, do all that, medicate them while I'm in there, and I'll be out sitting at the desk like, okay, what else am I supposed to do
Yeah,
now?
same.
Like,
That
yeah,
was me. I
I
got flooded
mean,
to peds, had a patient load. I knocked my
yeah,
assessment out. Morning meds were done, and I was just sitting there. And they were like, "Well, we usually go in and do, team nursing, and we go in and medicate and help each other, and we go get breakfast and do all these other things." And I'm sitting there like, "Bro, it's freaking like about to be 9 o'clock. I'm done, and y'all talking about going to get breakfast? Y'all ain't even started. Look at
yeah,
all that red. That's what drove me
yeah.
crazy. Was looking at all the undone things.
I know, and then they got flashing stuff and alarming stuff, and I'm like, what is all this noise and what is all this stuff?
Then the
And
damn call lights connected to their like their phones. No, I would lose my mind.
well, when I was up there, they the call light would go off, and I just go walk into the room because I was so freaking bored sitting there. So I just get up and go answer in the room, and they sitting there like, hello. I'm like, I'm already in here, and yeah, it was a lot of stuff. And then they had techs getting their vital signs, and so I was like, well, what are we supposed to do? Like, I don't know what else to do. It was terrible. I I appreciate people that can do that, but that stuff ain't busy enough for me.
Yeah, me too.
I will be like knocked out in the chair over there. I'll be sleeping. I can't just sit there.
Same. So let me ask you this, and I guess we can leave with this question: Do you
Mhm.
feel like you chose the right path for yourself for nursing?
I definitely think being an LPN helped me. Yes. Um, be a better nurse because I learned more in LPN school than I did RN school. RN school was paper whipping. I
Mhm.
feel like it's just a bunch of paperwork. But I don't regret being a nurse. Um, at all. I mean, I don't. It has its face.
So you don't regret choosing like the ER at all?
No, and honestly, like I went to long term care first because I felt like, well, first of all, it paid more. As an LPN, it paid more. But when I did my preceptorship in RN school, I wanted the ER. I love the ER. And then I decided that's just where I wanted to be. I couldn't do long term care anymore. It just I hated going to work after I did preceptorship in the ER just because of it was just so different. So yeah, going into
Yeah.
ER, I definitely like it. I sometimes miss the busyness of it. Being a manager now, I don't get to do as much. It is a lot of paperwork, but I don't know. I like being part of the process and behind the scenes stuff too. So I can't really you know, I don't know who else would have done this job. Mm,
I know. I do miss you out there on the floor. And I do not regret choosing ER nursing, but I do wish I would have tried something else first. Like,
yeah,
I went straight into the ER out of nursing school, which it was kind of funny to me because even then, when I interviewed with the director, she was like, I usually don't hire new grads and all this other stuff, all these
yeah,
things. But I guess she just was like, let's give it a try. And I'm glad she did because
yeah,
I did enjoy the ER, and I feel like it's been rewarding, like a rewarding career for me.
yeah,
Do I think I could do the ER for the next 30 years? Probably not. My bones ain't gonna let me. But I am
yeah.
glad I chose it.
I just feel like so I've been a nurse for 15 years, almost 16, and so I just feel like at some point you have to transition from bedside. You have to move up. So I mean, when the opportunity presented itself, I did because I can't bedside nurse for the whole time. It's not reasonable.
Yeah. So when do you suggest people like transition? Because like for instance, it's 8.5 years for me almost.
Well, I can't. I mean, even at the nursing home, I was in management pretty quick. Um,
Yeah.
my my sister and them said it's the oldest kid syndrome. Um, but I don't mind leading or following. I don't care. I don't mind stepping up and making decisions when I need to. But I don't know. I think it depends on the person. So as far as when you move up and what the position is and different things. Um,
Yeah.
but I will
Like for
say
instance,
my biggest.
I love that you're our manager. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So, as an example, I would never ask an employee to do something I couldn't or wouldn't do. And so I think
Yeah.
in order to be that, well, even like, the job interview the other day, and they're like, hey, do you want to be over this region? And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. And so I wouldn't because I just feel like if I can't lead by example, then I don't need to lead. And so I just feel like
Yeah.
that's who you need to be. So as a leader, you need to be willing to get in the trenches. You need to be able to do everything your subordinates can do. And if you can't do everything that they can do, you don't need to be in charge. And so that's me. I feel like you have to start from the very bottom and you have to move up. You have to learn everything. Like there is not a position in the ER that I can't do. I can run the desk. I can charge. I can be a regular nurse. There is nothing in the ER that I cannot do. And I feel like as a leader that's the minimum that you need. You need to be able to do everything you ask your subordinates to do. That's it.
I agree with that. And that's what made my decision to, to start doing the whole charge nurse stuff so hard because I felt like essentially I felt like I was still a baby nurse which I knew I wasn't,
Yeah.
but I still felt that way. I'm like, I don't know enough to do this, for one. Number two, I feel like that's just me making decisions to try to keep stuff moving. Like, that's going to be too stressful. Um, you know, but in
Yeah.
the grand scheme of things, like, I do enjoy charging. I do enjoy being a resource for all the other nurses on the floor. And like you said, like, I feel like I have the capabilities to be able to, if I couldn't do this job, I shouldn't take it, you know?
Right. Yep.
But
Well, that's what I'm
I don't know.
saying. Is and so when we have to split it, and I have to put two RNs to 12 patients with the LPN and the tech. I don't. I have no hesitancy about doing it because I've done it, and it can be done, and I've done it with
Yeah.
less staff than that. So, like I said, I feel like I can, I don't know, empathize or put myself in their shoes with staff shoes because I've been there and I've done that. And I think
Right.
sometimes leaders just get the job because, like, for instance, you apply because you're an outside person and you see it posted and you apply and you get it. And I feel like it's a disadvantage to the company and to the staff for that because you don't know. Like, I always feel like you should promote within first, within reason, of course. But and sometimes
Yeah,
outside
I agree with that.
perspectives can be a plus. I'm not saying that, but I just feel like
Right.
um you it depends on the person. They have to be willing to come in, hit the ground running, and learn from the bottom up if they're going to do that.
I agree with that. You
Yeah.
didn't say anything wrong. Well, that was my last question. I was just, while we were
Yeah.
on the topic of nursing and all that stuff, I was like, well, let me just pick your brain.
Yeah. I like that.
I'm sure at this point it's mush after a long day of work.
It is. I know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess I'll see you
Okay.
in the morning.
Well, God dang it. I do got to go to work tomorrow. Okay.
Okay.
I'll see you on TikTok.
All right. See ya. Bye.
Bye.